Everyone, welcome to the 10th Circular Cities Declaration Signatory webinar. Today we're going to be tackling the topic of packaging reuse and specifically how to build a reuse culture within your city. So without further ado, let me start with a few technical check-ins. So this meeting is exclusive to the Circular City Declaration signatories. It would be great just to recognize each other if you can all write your name and include the organization in the title. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording as well as the slides and everything will be shared afterwards. The recording will also be published on the CCD website. I ask you to keep this, please keep your mic muted during the webinar, and you can unmute yourself freely when you're speaking. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out in the chat or write me an email if you have any technical issue. You can also enable the captions in Zoom by using the button to show captions. All right, so let's have a look at the agenda. Today, we will look at packaging reuse. We will have a first presentation by Paula Castañeda Rodriguez from the ICLEI World Secretariat, and on the challenge for packaging waste, and specifically the handbook that has been produced by the World Secretariat on supporting local authorities in implementing packaging reuse for food and beverage. Then we will have presentation from 3 cities, specifically in Nasus Macius from the municipality of Kalamata. Will talk about their experience with refuel stations and water infrastructure. Then Victoria Greer from Manchester will talk more from the city strategic point of views and how to pilot reuse at events. And then we will hear from the municipality of Sanem in Luxembourg, where Christophe Mossong will talk about implementing reuse system for takeaway packaging. Then, as usual, in this webinar series, we will dive deep into discussion in 3 breakout rooms. You can all choose the breakouts that you would like to participate in, and each city speaker will be at each breakout room so that you can add more in-depth questions and also share your thoughts, your challenges, depending on the topic that is mostly interesting to you. Then we will all head back to the plenary, and we will hear about from ICLEI about opportunities, the CCD report in 2026, and upcoming activities, and finish the event at 3:30. All right. So just as a quick update from ICLEI side on what's happening with the Circular City Declaration. The initiative still keeps growing. So currently we have 90 cities from 22 countries, covering a population of 42 million. And you can see from the last webinar that we had a year ago, we have 5 new signatories. So specifically the cities of Lyon. In Germany, we have Bottrop and Nürnberg. Kalamata, which is one of the speakers, they are a new CCD signatory themselves, and the city of Turin in Italy. So other updates from the CCD point of view, there is a new LinkedIn page of the Circular City Declaration. Feel free to follow it. My colleague Nestor just pasted the link in the chat. And also for you to know, the initiative was presented in 2 conferences, the Waste Management Europe conference in June, this past June, and the Ecomondo in Italy this past November. All right, so before starting with the whole presentations, we actually wanted to hear very briefly from you. So we're testing this out, like this new poll function from Zoom. I'm gonna be launching it now. So I have launched it. Please confirm me if you cannot see it. I will ask you to take maybe like a minute to just answer this quick question. One is more related to your personal life, and the other one is about like what kind of change you would like to implement in your city or region. If you have additional ideas, feel free to write them in the chat. So you can all take a minute to think about this. Alrighty. I'm not sure if everyone can see the responses afterwards. All right, I figured that. So I will be putting them here. Probably it's not that visible, but you can see that there is like a lot of interest in activities such as establishing citywide deposit return schemes, but also doing reuse systems at events, as well as doing more visibility of reuse initiatives and conduct public awareness campaigns. So there is a lot here that cities are interested in doing for supporting reuse. I will leave the poll open for another 10 seconds, more or less, if you still want to write, but otherwise also feel free to write your thoughts about this in the chat. All right, so let's continue. So we have a full agenda for today. As I said, like the first presentation is going to be from Paula Castañeda Rodriguez from the ICLEI World Secretariat, and then we will hear from the three cities speakers. So without further ado, I will stop my sharing and leave the floor to Paula.
Thank you, Chiara. I'm sharing my screen now. Just let me know if you can see it. I think so,
Yes,
right?
we can see
Perfect.
it.
So I would like to apologize in advance because today I'm a little bit sick, so I might need to unmute myself to cough. So please bear with me during this 10-minute presentation. So with that said, thank you, Chiara, for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to talk about this City Practitioner's Handbook. So to introduce myself really quickly, my name is Paula Castañeda. I'm an officer at the Circular Development Team at the ICLEI World Secretariat based in Bonn. And before we go deeply into the City Practitioner's Handbook, let me briefly tell you why packaging waste has become such a critical issue for cities and why reusable packaging systems and circularity are emerging as a powerful solution to this. So first, we have the modern consumption patterns and the single use, such as like takeaway foods or on-the-go drinks, quick service delivery, and this has built around the disposability. So this has created a lock-in in the system where businesses and consumers rely to throw away the packaging to function. This also is interlinked to the linear system that we are trying to shift to a more circular system, but the linear system or the classical way, take, make, and waste, have enhanced these modern consumption patterns. This also has led to a problem with the high material flow and low value. So as a result of these disposing systems, we have a large volume of waste that end up in landfills, incinerations, or they leak directly into waterways or public spaces in cities. Thus, this puts a lot of pressure into the cities who are the front row when it comes to manage waste. And they are like facing this waste collection costs, landfills shortages, and also having to put a little bit more work when it comes to litter and plastic pollution. Also, not to mention that this has emerged also huge environmental challenges and healthy risk when it comes to food and beverage, particularly, knowing that there is some microplastics that had been found in these disposable packaging systems that are harmful for the health. So all in all, packaging waste is just not a technical issue. It reflects the deeper failure of the linear system and invites us to transition to a more circular economy system. So with that said, why reuse and why circular systems? So this is where reuse becomes a powerful tool. It eliminates waste from source. So instead of maybe collecting or managing or recycling this plastic, you can implement this reusable packaging that prevent the trash to being created in the first place. They also have a huge major climate benefits and resource savings from extraction, disposal cycles, and also reduce of emissions. And when it comes to the economic part, reuse becomes cheaper over time. It might be maybe more expensive the first investment that you do, but then um, over the time it will be cheaper and lower maintenance cost, as well as it helps to create some green jobs. So for example, some washing services, some other green logistics, repair and digital tracking as well. So lastly, I will mention that also support some protect public health. So by using durable, food-safe materials, cities can avoid also risks associated with single-use plastics. So with that said, then I will move to what is concerning us today, which is the handbook that eClay WS has released early this year. Um, this is the guidebook. You have here a QR code if you want to scan it and access. This is a city practitioner's handbook, a reuse starter kit for food and beverage sector. This handbook, I must say, this was developed with the insight from the CCL project, which was a pilot project that was testing reusable packaging solutions and was implemented in 4 places. So we had the case of Tirana in Albania, Tbilisi, Georgia, Medellin in Colombia, and South Africa as well. So this guidebook leverage knowledge from all across ICLAY network and beyond, and also draws in real experiences of cities around the world. We will have you will find out that we have some cities, for example, the case of Manchester that we will hear later on, and some other cities in Europe, Africa, Latin America, and Asia. So please feel free to scan the code, and I will share it again at the end of this presentation, and as well, Chiara will provide you some of these links. So what is included in this handbook? The handbook follows the usual structure. So it begins with conceptualizing the challenges and some of the opportunities, but also goes a little bit more in detail to frame what is reuse and in a broader circular economy transition. And then it jumps also to unpacking what reuse entails. So we have a proper chapter on what is reuse, what is not, and reuse in the urban context as well. Then at the heart of this handbook, you will find the 3-step process for implementing reuse initiatives in cities. So the step 1, what, step 2, who, and step 3, how. And then here I must emphasize that this is a guidebook who was planned or developed thinking about these cities that are like only beginning to implement these reuse initiatives. So they need to have a starting point. Um, so at the end of this handbook, you will have some of the reuse initiatives around the world. As I mentioned, we have several of them covering in different regions from Europe, Latin America, and Africa as well. So moving on to the next slide, as I was telling you, we have a chapter dedicated to reuse, and we wanted to start here by defining what is reuse. So to illustrate what is it and what is not, because often we have a little bit of mixing official terminology and we have like different meanings and understandings. So for us, it's important to put into the right definition for ICLE what reuse entails, which is for us the repeated use of an item of product that it's intended to purpose without modification. So with that said, this is like the baseline where it starts, and reuse will be like, or the meaning of reuse, the definition of this, it will be reuse through all this handbook, and will be covered also in the policy toolbox that it's part of this handbook as well. So an important thing that I would also like to highlight is that we have a chapter on benefits of pursuing reuse interventions. I mentioned already some of the benefits on pursuing a reuse system, a reuse packaging system in this case. So this also highlights and clearly presents the benefits. For example, key securing buy-in from politicians and senior managements. They will help you to maybe connect to new initiatives that are existing in urban priorities, for example. So we highlight some examples here as well. And then we go to the heart of the handbook, which is the three-step process that I was talking about. So this is a process that it's supported also with a policy toolkit that ICLEI has been working with. And this provides cities a practical pathway to align reuse and initiatives with a broader development goals. So as you can see, step one, what, step two, who, and step three, how. And then we will deep into a little bit more in detail on the steps. So for the first step, this includes to focus on what are you or what is your specific reuse initiative. Here we provide a conceptual overview on a value chain, and we listed also 12 possible reuse interventions that could be implemented in the stage of the city. So they are, for example, like categorized from the ease. So the level of ease, if it's like high, medium, or low, and the level of the cost. So we have, for example, reusable packaging hubs, public wastewater refill sanitation, and so on. So it's important to note these are not exhaustive excluded, so there could be more. We are just trying to list some examples for the cities who are starting their journey in reusable packaging. So this section also includes this policy toolbox that I was also mentioning. This is an overview of methodologies that can be utilized to assess the current situation and help you with the decisions, as well as the resource intervention to be more relevant and beneficial. So this policy toolbox is divided in four main axes, let's say. So you have from one of the parts, the regulatory and planning. You also have the economic part, cooperation, and education and knowledge. So for example, in economic, you can find some tools that are like public procurement or the tax and financial incentives. From the regulatory or planning, you find some regulations, strategic plans who can help you to strengthen these reusable packaging solutions to better implement in your cities. So then once you have checked the first step, then we go to the second step, which is the who. The who it's the focus it focus more on understanding the consultation and collaboration. It's about to identify stakeholders. So we have identified already three stakeholders here, that could be like fitting. So like in general, like the three main stakeholders. So the first one is the internal stakeholders, such as, for example, the billing office, that we will be needing to have if incentives are provided for taxpayers, for example. Then you have the external stakeholders outside of a city administration that would be important for implementation, such as maybe like owners of grocery stores, when you talk about maybe banning single plastic bags, for example. And then the third one would be a key stakeholders that are critical for the successful approval or implementation of the reuse activity. So here you can see also like this is a system map that it helps to develop understanding the entire context. And the example here is a coffee shop. So this could be applied also in different other contexts. And then coming to the last step, which is the how. This is a template that we have designed and brings together the resume activity that was identified. No, for example, we have the 3 steps, and then some of the considerations when you think about the what. For example, which analysis tools are most applicable, or what type of reuse intervention. Then when you think about the who, if there is a system map that you have been developed, maybe who will be the city engaged in this, who will the city engage with these stakeholders, and then the how, if there are like maybe any economical policy levels necessary or any cooperation policy levels. And then this is something that the city can already use as an example and make some notes. And yeah, so this is like basically a tool that you can bring the intervention to life. Then we go to the end of the guidebook, which is, as I was saying, the reuse initiatives around the world. So in this chapter, you will find some of the examples. Here you can see we have the case of Manchester, Ghent in Belgium, Seoul in South Korea, Bogota, and Medellin in Colombia. We have also cases of Cape Town, Jakarta in Indonesia, Bolzano in Italy. So this is a case of the studies around the world that act as an inspiration. This is what we are intending to share with the cities. So we go from examples like refill stations in South Africa to maybe some tech-enabled containers, in the case in Colombia. And then we have also some examples like the Manchester and Ghent and Boulder, where they are focusing more on festivals and events, and then deposit return systems or dishwashing systems, for example. And then in Asia, we have integrated examples on reuse into retail, food delivery, and citywide plots. So yeah, these initiatives showcase strong policies, infrastructure, but also community engagement as key for scaling reuse. So with that said, I come to the end of this brief presentation on this City Practitioners Handbook. So I let you hear again the QR code. This is available in ICLEI's website. So please feel free to take a look on that and circulate it also with your city colleagues, fellows. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions or doubts, please let me know. I will be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paula, for this great presentation. This is really a key publication, I think, to support cities and regions, so feel free to peruse it. I think there was so much traffic from the CCD attendees that the website is currently down of the in general, like of the ICLEI circulars and of the handbook, but it should be back up shortly. Anyway, we will be sharing the link together, like with all the resources from the event afterwards via email. So you can check it out later. And if you have any questions, Paula, it would be great if you can also like leave your contact info in the chat, because I know that you cannot stay for the rest of the meeting, so people can contact you in case they have some specific questions. But thank you so much for this presentation.
Sure, I would leave my details there, and please do not hesitate to contact if you have any questions or if you need support, maybe starting your reusable path. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Paula. And now moving to the section of this webinar that deals with city best practices, I would like to hand the floor to Nasos Makios from the municipality of Kalamata.
Thank you, Chiara. Just a moment to share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Good evening to everyone, and I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation. My name is Nasos Makios, and I'm a city advisor of the municipality of Kalamata. I will present to you how our city is promoting the culture of reusing through a local Green Deal with the title Water. The initial stands for Water Access through Eco-Friendly Refill. In the next slides, I will explain to you what the local Green Deals are. First of all, I would like to make a small introduction about our city. Just a moment. There it is. Kalamata is a lively coastal city in southern Greece and the capital of Messenia in the Peloponnese region with 73,000 residents. It lies between the blue waters of the Messenia Gulf and the impressive Taygetos Mountains, offering a mix of natural beauty, rich history, and modern life. Kalamata is a city that grows and moves forward while keeping its strong tradition and sense of community. Known all over the world for its famous olives and olive oil, it also has a lovely old town, a busy seafront, and a vibrant cultural life. Today, Kalamata combines warm Greek hospitality with new ideas in sustainability and smart city projects, making it one of the most energetic and future-oriented cities in Greece. But let me show you a short video of our city. I think you can hear the sound.
Yes, we can.
That's our city. Kalamata is also one of the so-called mission-labeled European cities and one of the totally 6 Greek cities that participating in the European Mission 100 Climate Neutral and Smart Cities by 2030, an ambitious initiative of the European Commission that aims to accelerate the green and digital transmission of urban areas. Kalamata's Climate City Contract is a strategic roadmap developed to show how it will achieve climate neutrality by 2030. It's a formal agreement between the city, citizens, local stakeholders, and the European Commission. It defines the city vision for achieving climate neutrality and becoming smarter and more sustainable, sets clear targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and includes an action plan covering key sectors such as energy, mobility, buildings, waste management, and digital transformation. In addition, it presents an investment strategy that identifies how the city will secure and manage the financial resources needed to carry out these transitions effectively. Our city has a very ambitious plan focusing on reduction of carbon emissions by 94% with a budget of 2 billion euros, and all that by carrying out 77 actions. We are aiming not only to decarbonize our local economy, but also to inspire other medium-sized Mediterranean cities to follow a similar path towards a greener, smarter, and more inclusive future. For our refill project, remember the name, Water, they all started from ICC. The initial stands for Intelligent City Challenge. ICC was a major initiative of the European Commission that supported cities across Europe in accelerating their green and digital transition while fostering innovation, sustainability, and social inclusion. Building on the success of the first phase, ICC Phase 2, and the last one, engaged 86 European cities, including Kalamata, one of the first Greek cities to participate in a collaborative network that helps local authorities transform their economies, improve citizens' quality of life, and promote climate neutrality. In its second phase, the ICC placed strong emphasis on the implementation of local green deals as a key governance and action tool to achieve climate neutrality and sustainable growth. What is a local green deal? A local green deal is a framework for joint action. It translates the broad objectives of the European Green Deal, such as decarbonization, clean energy, sustainable mobility, and circular economy, into specific local commitments and projects. Each LGD is co-created by a network of local partners who share a vision of sustainability and agree on practical steps to achieve it. It combines policy instruments, investments, and social innovation to accelerate change across sectors. In the second phase of the ICC project, as you can see in this slide, 217 LGDs were developed in 5 different sectors: construction and built environment, cultural and creative industries, energy and renewables, mobility and transport, and the last one, tourism. Municipality of Kalamata has signed 4 local green deals with local stakeholders. In this slide, you can see some photos of the day that our mayor and the local stakeholders signed those deals. One local green deal of our city promotes the culture of refill. The members of this local green deal were 2. The first one is the IAC, which is the Municipal Water Supply and Sewerage Company of Kalamata, which is the company responsible for the design, construction, maintenance, administration, and operation of water supply networks and wastewater treatment plant. The second member, of course, is the Municipality of Kalamata. In this deal, the IAC will procure for 4 fixed advertising stations for water supplies outdoor type called meatpad. You can see it on the left side of the slide. Each meatpad station provides free, high-quality drinking water to residents and visitors, promoting the use of reusable bottles instead of single-use plastic. At the same time, the stations serve as communication platforms that display your environmental message and awareness prompts related to water conservation. You can see here in this slide the first meatpad, which is situated near the central square of our city. The municipality of Kalamata, in return, will provide at least 500 bottles of half-liter capacity each one to give them for free to citizens so that they can reuse them and fill them with tap water from these stations. This water station can deliver water with sensor to reusable bottle, as you can see in the video. You just place your bottle and, as you can see here, it started to refill it. It's easy. Behind these water station products lies integrated smart technologies designed to monitor water consumption and provide a comprehensive overview of every station performance. The water stations are designed to be energy efficient and self-sustaining. Each unit integrates a photovoltaic panel on the top which supplies power for lighting, for the internal sensor and smart water meter and the Internet of Things communication module. Also, they are equipped with a smart water meter connected to a priority online data management platform. These systems enable us to record and analyze water usage, track efficiency, and gain valuable insights into user behavior. The aim of this deal is to have more free clean tap water supply points for use by all citizens. In addition, by using tap water, we protect the environment and reduce the need for plastic bottles with water. Worldwide, annually, we produce more or less 500 million tons of plastic, and every second, we throw in garbage 1,500 plastic bottles. Also, the production and life cycle of plastic bottles generate a significant amount of CO2 emissions, primarily due to energy-intensive manufacturing process and fossil fuel-based raw materials. It's about 82 to 178 grams of CO2 equivalent. Also, it's quite impressive that there are more microplastics in our oceans than stars in our galaxy. Our galaxy the Milky Way contains about 100 to 400 billion stars, and scientists estimate that there are around 170 trillion microplastic particles floating in Earth's oceans. The comparison between microplastic and the Milky Way is more than a statistic. It's a wake-up call. By choosing refill station and reusable bottles instead of using plastic bottles with water, we protect the environment in multiple ways. We reduce plastic waste that often ends up polluting oceans and oceans while saving energy which is used for producing and transporting plastic bottles. And what can we save in numbers? If we suppose that only 20% of Kalamata residents implement this local deal, we can save yearly more than 10 million bottles. This is only for the 20% of the total residents. And if we add the tourists during the high season in summer, let's say for example 50 days, we can save 2.5 million bottles. I would like to mention that the population of our city in summer is doubled. We are a seaside city, so in March 2025, Deputy Mayor of Kalamata, Mr. Vasilis Papavstathou, received, on behalf of our mayor, Mr. Athanasios Vasilopoulos, a distinguished award at the Digital City Challenge Final Conference in Brussels. The Water Local Green Deal was recognized as one of the 15 best practices among European ICC cities, showcasing how a medium-sized city can successfully combine technology, citizens' engagement, and sustainability to address environmental challenges. Our next step is to install more water stations across the city, expanding access to free high-quality drinking water and encouraging even more citizens and visitors to refill instead of buying plastic bottles. By strategically placing these smart refill points in schools, parks, public squares, and along the seafront, we aim to make sustainable hydration a natural daily habit. Although infrastructure such as refill station and clean water system makes access to tap water easy, real change depends on people awareness and habits. Many individuals hesitate to drink tap water because of misunderstanding about its safety, taste, or reliability. Through education and transparent communication, citizens can gain confidence in its quality and better understand the environment and financial advantages of choosing tap water over bottled alternatives. Also, awareness campaigns, especially in school, workplaces, and public spaces, play a key role in showing how simple every action, like refilling a bottle, can collectively reduce plastic waste, CO2 emission, and pollution. And by changing yourself is the first step to change the world. When you change your habits, your mindset, your kindness, your effort, you also influence the people around you. And when many people do that, the whole world starts to shift little by little. Big changes often begin with small actions from individuals. Let's start with reusable instead of single-use plastic bottles. Thank you for your attention, and I remain at your disposal for any questions or informations. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Nasos. This was very well explained, and I particularly liked your last message. It's very inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It would be great if you can also put your contact info in the chat for the participants that cannot stay for the whole duration of the event. That would be great. Thanks. And as a reminder to everyone, Nasos will be joining the breakout room number 1. So if you have more in-depth questions for him, feel free to join that breakout room. So we're running already a little bit late. So without further ado, I'm going to leave the floor to Victoria Greer from the Municipality of Manchester for her presentation on city strategies and the piloting reuse at events specifically for the Christmas market. Victoria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll just start the slideshow. Oops. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for having me. My name is Victoria Greer. I work in our zero carbon team at Manchester City Council, and I'm focusing in particularly today on our Christmas markets, cups and reusables events in Manchester. So just to locate us in time and space, in case you don't know where Manchester is, we like to think of ourselves as England's second city. We are in the northwest of England. I have to apologise to our friends from Glasgow who are on the call today because we've chosen Edinburgh on that map, but we should have put Glasgow. We were kind of roughly halfway between London and Edinburgh in Scotland. We've got a population of about 552,000, but that population is constantly growing. We are a growing city in Manchester, and we really see ourselves as a cultural, music and sporting city. So there's a lot of events that happen in Manchester, and something going on most nights of the week. So that's a very brief introduction to who we are. Before I kind of launch into the detail about our reusable cup scheme, though, I just thought I'd give you a little bit of policy background so you understand why we have this focus on reusable cups. In 2019, as did a lot of local authorities across the UK, Manchester declared a climate emergency. And as a result, then started working with the Tyndall Centre, which is a branch of Manchester University, to set ourselves a science-based carbon reduction target. And as a result of that, we have now set ourselves a target to be zero carbon by 2038. So that's us as a city council, and the city itself also has a target for the wider city to also be zero carbon by 2038. We as a council are on target currently for that zero carbon target. The city, however, is not. There's a lot that still needs to be done in order to reach that target. When that first target was set in 2020, we then published our first thorough climate change action plan for the first 5 years. So we've just come to the end of that 5-year plan. We are currently on track to stay within our carbon budget, but things do get a little bit more difficult in terms of saving carbon as we've kind of dealt with the quick wins, like changing light bulbs and decarbonising some of our public buildings, for example. We are about to publish our next climate change action plan, and the exclamation mark there that says it's being published next week is mainly because there's been a lot of work on that in the last 18 months, and that will go to our full council panel next week to hopefully be adopted, at which point we can share the link with everybody. So in terms of our last climate change action plan, which ended this year, that had 5 work streams within it. And as you can see there from work stream 3, around consumption and suppliers, there was targets in there around single-use plastic reduction or elimination where possible, and also a focus on sustainable events. This is a kind of brief overview of our current and new climate change action plan. We've reduced those 5 work streams down into 3 themes, but within the green and circular economy theme, we still have that focus on reduced waste, reuse, and also the impact from our events. So we continue to focus on these areas. Just for a little bit of extra context, also in 2019, Manchester City Council was one of 10 local authorities in the Greater Manchester region, which signed a pledge to become plastic free by the end of 2024. So we, as a council, set ourselves some targets through a single-use plastics action plan, and we have, for the most part, managed to reduce all avoidable single-use plastic from within our own operations. We do still get the odd thing sneaking in that we kind of keep on top of, but that was also a kind of pledge to really focus on how we can influence people within the city as well. So that's where we're really focused now, on trying to get everybody else in the city to also reduce their plastic consumption. So for us, in terms of a reusable cup approach, we have really focused in on that kind of elimination of single-use plastics. So sometimes that has meant that some events that have run that are not council-owned events have, in a kind of interim, turned to using paper cups, for example, in a kind of less worse type approach, but we are still really pushing for all events to take up the reusable cups as a kind of first approach for events. We have produced a guide, which is available online, and we can share that link. Quite a lengthy guide. So we've also created some kind of one-pagers for people that find that a little bit too much to absorb. But we're also asking our event managers that work for the council to really promote this to external event organisers as much as possible. And well, as we'll see shortly, it's a slow progress. The council itself has been using reusable cups within our own managed events for some time. And I've worked for the local authority now for 2 years and started working on this agenda 2 years ago. And I'm personally quite frustrated by how slow it can be. So we're now looking at what we can do to start to enforce that a bit more with our external event organisers. So, and just also to mention that we did update our licensing policy in March 2024, so that all licensed premises, so those that can sell alcohol, clubs and temporary events, now have to sign up to this policy, which asks that there's no use of avoidable single-use plastic, and that they reduce their packaging and find that the one that's the most environmentally friendly, just the wording that's gone into it. It has to be noted that it is the policy and not the actual licensing conditions that they sign up to. So it is a little less enforceable, but it does mean that we've got an official document that we can send to licensees, and if we find that you're using single-use plastic, and gently let them know that they are kind of breaking the Manchester licensing policy if they're overusing single-use plastic. So that's the context. And then what we have been doing really for some time now really is trying to use reusable cups at our own events as a way of leading the way and showing other event organisers how it can be done. So the picture there on the left is from our Christmas markets, which is what I'll be focusing in on today. And they've been using reusable cups since, well, for some time, about 10 years now, I think. And then on the right is our Manchester Day Parade, and that is a kind of annual citywide festival and carnival that, again, we use our own reusable cups at those events. So yes, so that's the context there. And then our Christmas markets, just to focus in on the case study that features in the handbook. That's an annual event that has been going since 1999. It's a 46-day event, so it's running as we speak. And I did hope to have my colleague, who's operations manager of the markets, joining me today, because she's the expert in these cups, but she is busy with the operations of the market right through till the 22nd of December. It's a market that's spread out across the city. So there's 10 locations in the city this year, with 274 stalls selling crafts and goods and food, etc. And there's 20 bars. So there's a lot of cups flowing in and out of these bars over the next 40 odd days that we have left. So there's two main reusable cups that are used, and I'm going to be focusing in mainly on the cold drinks cups here today, because the Christmas markets do have the hot drinks mugs that are produced for the markets, and these are again, they can be borrowed for a deposit, as can the cold drinks cups. But there is that people are encouraged to take a mug away. And obviously, from an environmental point of view, there's some questions around that. From a market's point of view, it's a great money spinner for them. We are currently looking into the Scope 3 emissions of this scheme, but for now, we're steering well clear of the hot drinks cups. They're very well loved. They're collector's items. We're focusing in on the plastic cold drinks cups for now. And I can say that because Claire's not here. I wouldn't be able to say that if she was. So the cold drinks cups that we use at the markets and other Manchester events belong to us, belong to the City Council. And we have a stock of about 75,000 cups in total. So the majority of those, around 40,000 of those, are pint pots for beer. We have another large stock of half pint pots for beer. And then also, as the kind of cold drinks market at the markets increases, we've also purchased champagne flutes, wine glasses, gin glasses, and cocktail glasses, which we have smaller numbers of. They're made from high quality polypropylene or polycarbonate, depending on the type of cup. And we, from a kind of operational point of view, we purchase these as a council for about £1 a glass, or a cup, I should say. And then we charge a £2 deposit for every drink. So if we do lose any cups, we kind of, we have more than enough to purchase more. But obviously our focus is in trying to keep as many cups as we can flowing in the system rather than anyone taking them away. So for that very reason, they are a very simple design. Yes, they do say Manchester events on them. If we had our way, we'd probably have them that completely removed as well. But there's no colour on them. And there's a message about reuse and returning. And then just on the right-hand side there, just a brief note to say that we do, as a city, now have a scheme where we can lend those cups to other event organisers between the months of February and September, January and September, when the cups are no longer in use with the markets. So I'm not going to dwell on this, on the operations too much, but essentially with the cup scheme, we lend the traders the cups. So the traders of the bars in the markets are independent traders. They borrow the cups from us. They come and pick up the cups from a central store twice a week. They will let us know how many they need, and they can come pick those up. As they sell a drink, they will charge the customer the £2, and that trader then becomes the custodian of that £2. So then they obviously then give the deposit back if the cup is returned, or they will give that deposit to us if the cup goes walkabouts and doesn't come back into the system. And that kind of deposits and cups are reconciled at the end of the process. If you wanted more detail on that, I can certainly give you that, but for the interest of time, I'll leave it as that and scoot over. So we're very proud of our returnable cup scheme in the markets. It does work really, really well for us, and we're always finding ways, or Claire in particular is always finding ways of improving the scheme. Claire is a real asset to the city in that she's so passionate about the scheme that she runs and manages. So she's every year looking for ways to improve it, which obviously really helps us. But there are challenges, and I'm sure that everybody wants to know about the challenges as well as the successes. So we did at first, when this was first implemented, we used to wash our own glasses, or our own cups in a central area in the city. And as the markets grew, it became apparent that we didn't have the staff to continue with that properly. So now any trader that comes to the Christmas markets that wants to use the cups has to sign up to wash them themselves. So that's something that they've all got washing facilities behind the bar. We do have quite a significant loss rate, definitely higher than I thought it would be. I believe that the average loss rate on a returnable cup scheme is about 20%. Last year, we lost 29% of our cups. So this is people either taking them home or worse, throwing them in the bin as they leave the markets. So that clearly is something that we really, really want to get on top of. Obviously, if a returnable cup is going in the bin, it's worse than a single-use plastic cup. So we need to make sure that we're getting those more cups back in. So that's kind of my focus, if you like, for the coming year. Claire, and this is Claire's idea, has actually added returnable charitable cup bins this year in a bid to raise funds for homeless charities. But I'm really hopeful that that's going to drive up the number of return cups. So we're going to really keep an eye on that and see how that affects our loss rate going forward. I mentioned before we've got this free loan scheme where we've been lending other events our cups free of charge. That really hasn't been taken up as much as we hoped it would be. Washing the cups was problematic for a lot of city centre events. And so last summer, or this summer just gone, we launched a washing service where the markets team employed agency staff to wash the cups so that events could return them dirty. But we still haven't had a huge amount of uptake on that. So we've just had a new venue in the last couple of years in Manchester, Co-op Live, which is a huge new arena that's opened. And as a result of Co-op Live coming to the city, because they have their own returnable cup scheme, we now have a cup hire and washing service based just outside of Manchester city centre. So we're looking to try and encourage event organisers to use them a lot more as well. which they'll be able to deal with the numbers of large events that we just couldn't deal with.
Sorry, Vicky.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. This is very interesting, but if you could wrap up in 1 minute.
Have I gone over?
No, it's fine. It's just we're running late.
Yeah,
sorry.
That's okay. Of course. Yeah. So I'll leave that one there. So I think I've already said it's been harder to implement with external events. I will scoot over this. This was a hot drinks cup that's been launched by the University of Manchester, but you can look at these slides in your leisure, and happy to take questions by email if people have them. Very quickly then, just to reiterate that we're measuring the impact of those cup bins, additional messaging across the markets to try and encourage returns. And outside of the Christmas markets, we're going to really look at working with the commercial events to promote returnable cups, but also we're looking into ways of making sure that gets into contracts now, because it hasn't been in contracts up until now. And also we're exploring ways of then enforcing that happens. So yes, thank you. Sorry to go over.
No, it's perfectly fine. Thank you very much, Vicky. This was incredibly interesting, and I appreciated that you also had the focus on the challenges, because I think it already clarified a lot of questions that the audience might have. As a reminder to everyone, feel free to join breakout room number 2, where Vicky can also explain more in depth, and if you have follow-up questions, she will be there. So thank you very much. Without further ado, I will now leave the floor to Christophe for the last presentation of today before we head out in the breakout discussion, which will likely be a little bit shorter than anticipated. But Christophe, now the floor is yours.
Hello. I will talk about almost the same thing as my predecessor, but in a smaller scale. So I hope this works. All right. I will start with a very short introduction to Gemeinsystem. It's a very small, if we look at the other 2 cities that just talked, we are a rather small city in a small country of Luxembourg, made out of 4 distinct localities with about 18,000 citizens as of January this year. So we have smaller challenges like Manchester or Kalamata, but nonetheless we try. We have we live in a rather urbanized region, so all of the south of Luxembourg is urbanized, and we have huge development plans on a site called Belval, where a lot of skyscrapers, big residences seen the light, and also there's a lot of working people working there all the time. So there's a lot of people on a small space. So we did an assessment of is it really useful to talk about takeaway packaging being reusable? So we did a test. Our municipal workers they clean up the public bins, so they were able to just put everything from 1 week into one large bin for me to check on how much it is. This was in February this year. We harvested a ton, 1.02 tons of garbage in 52 garbage bins in an area of 0.15 square kilometers. So that's small, and there's a lot of people there, so it's okay. There are 48 restaurants, cafes, bars, and other things situated here. So there's a need for restoration, and there are a lot of people working here. This is the site of Sanem's territory of this Belval region, but the other half belongs to our neighboring municipality, and we can't go over there to get to check their garbage bins. So that's the reason why we just did a test on our side. Nonetheless, it's a lot of waste for a small space. So the question, if that was really necessary, was a no-brainer. I skipped one, but the following thing that we did, we wanted to talk to the restaurant owners if they were willing to make the switch, because they operate with those small plastic boxes with a lid on it. There isn't much talk about going towards paper. It's plastic all the way. So we wanted to talk about them about this. And we come up with a small questionnaire about are they interested and what would they need if they would want to make the transition. And here are the answers. Generally, the people that talked to us were interested because they also have this problem where they have to stock up a lot of those containers. And we went to one Chinese restaurant who said he had about 80 of those going out in the 2 hours of noon. So that's a lot every day. But so the demand was on the other side too, to make the switch, but they pointed out that the logistics of it, it's nothing that is present in our country. We don't have a national-wide fund system. Deposit system. So it's nothing that is present, and that would be something that we needed to build up from scratch. They also raised the question about who is going to pay for the logistics. So you have to imagine there's a restaurant, and if they don't have the possibility to wash the dishes at 65 degrees in a really fast fashion, they would need to outsource that. And since density over there in Belval is so large, it's not possible to have a small firm come in, set up, and be the cleaner for the whole region. So there's a lot of transport going in, going out. Who does that? Who pays for it? Who guarantees that it's still hygienic as needed? And who is going to pay for the containers actually? So those were the questions that they had. Obviously, we didn't have any answers because it's too early, but we tried to come up with some. We looked at what we have today. So we have some experience with reusable cups for about 5 or 6 years now, where we use them on our festivities that the commune organizes. Those cups have been expanded in 2023 regionally, and our small service also invested in bowls and French fry things too, tested on events. So far this works. We also have a lot of loss, but I assume that people take stuff home because it's somehow new, and that's okay. But in 2021, we also had a project with a social company who now runs a cleaning business of cleaning those cups. So we had the demand of someone needs to clean those cups, and they came in with a project to purchase one of those washing machines, and they do that now. So that exists, and in 2025 we doubled the capacity in order to provide the basis for whenever there's food stuff coming in. But until then it was only drinks. So now they also have a large refrigerator where used food dishes are stored in the cold to not rot away so easily, because they can, those machines can wash up to 3,000 cups in an hour, but sometimes there's a lot of cups more that arrive in one day, so they have to store them somewhere. In 2024, they washed over 1 million cups with one of those things. So that exists, and that would be a prime partner for this. So we hope to implement those. Here are some other photos of storing room, and yeah. If you have, I don't know if I'm good in time, but I want.
You have 2 minutes. Thanks.
Okay, that will be interesting. So, missing puzzle pieces. Demand is there from our side because there is a lot of garbage, but we are not sure if the general populace is okay with switching, because there's always, well, what do I do with the cup now? Since it's at home, I cleaned it, now it's stored here. There's also the problem of the supply. As of today, we have only one enterprise in our country that acts on those things, so there's not a lot of concurrence. And also still a question about logistics. And all three of those problems always put up the same question, how would that work in practice? So that's what we try to do. And what can we do? I'll skip this one because it's doing nothing. So basically, directive and Luxembourgish legislation forbids those things from 2027 on. So they will have to adapt. But they wait out until then and then say it's too hard. So, well, nothing will happen. Scenario 2 would be investing a lot of money in it, and that's totally possible. You can buy the collection terminals, you can organize the transport, you can buy the dishes, but that would not solve the problem, as in, yeah, we now use public money to fund something they should do. So that's not okay. That's costly too, because we made the effort to look at prices. No, not for us. Scenario 3 would be marketing and promotion. That's something we do all the time. In this case, it's okay. It's a good thing, but it would also not solve the problem. So we try to combine all of it in a scenario of both investing money and accompanying the consumers, accompanying the producers, and everyone in this region, so to say. So we try to start up a pilot committee where all of the parties meet. So we have the big enterprises in Belval, we have the restaurant owners, and we have some of the residents, people living there. They could also all express their wishes and, well, what do you want to do? And, well, in our heads, this will lead to a committee where we can pull back and they work it out among themselves. I understand that's wishful thinking, but without it, nothing will happen. So in 2026, we hopefully start tests in Belval in cooperation with a few other communes around here who also worked on this project. So yeah, we hope to have a practice example and maybe get a head start on legislative texts that are already existing and not be late for once. So, in conclusion, it's like with a lot of projects, working together, accompanying is the way, and not just throwing money at it. It's always necessary, but yes, at some point it becomes very costly, but the problem persists. Or so, yeah. A few numbers. This ton of garbage we collected in 1 week cost us around 150 euros, so that would make 7,000 in a year. I think if we invested those 7,000 euros per year in this project, that would already make a lot of progress.
Sorry, Christoph, if you could
Hmm?
wrap up, that would be great.
Yes.
Thanks.
So basically, we can save money, time, and also microplastics in our water. So there's a lot to be gained for everyone, and that's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christoph. And sorry to have you
No problem.
condense the presentation, but it was perfectly clear. And thank you for also including hard numbers. This is very much appreciated. So thank you very much. I will also ask Victoria and Christoph if you are fine sharing your contact details in the chat. You can also do this later. So now we will head off to the more interactive part of this webinar. So the breakout discussion, which we are going to be cutting down to 15 minutes. There is a timer anyway at the end, so feel free to join the breakout discussions depending on the topic that you're mostly interested in. As a reminder, the speaker from the municipality of Kalamata will be in the first breakout room, the speaker from Manchester in the second, and the speaker from Sanem in the third. So I think all of you have to decide the breakout room that you would like to join, and we will see you back in the plenary at around 3:25 p.m. All right, I think everyone is back from the various breakout rooms. We are running a little bit short on time, so apologies if I will speed up this last part. But thank you very much, everyone. I hope this was a useful conversation. I will now give the floor to my ICLEI colleagues for just a quick summary of the highlights in each breakout. So Felix, the floor is yours.
Yes, thanks, Dr. Not so much to share since it was actually just Nasos and me patiently waiting for anyone else to join, which didn't happen. But we still had a nice conversation of how the refill stations and the water infrastructure is just one of the many examples of how sustainable circular transformation in cities can be implemented, and also how important it is to quantify the results of what such an initiative actually does in terms of impact. Just a few topics we talked about. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Felix. Nestor, to you for the second.
Thanks, Chiara. Maybe from room 2. So we discussed several challenges with Victoria from Manchester, and maybe just to mention a couple of them. One of them was to really how to incentivize the private event organizers to adopt reusable measures, and here like really municipalities are encouraged to use the levers to the extent as possible, the levers that they have at their disposal. So big events, for example, that concentrate a lot of people, municipalities don't necessarily have much control over those, like football matches, for example. And here a good practice happening in Manchester is, for example, that they have negotiations with big events such as FIFA 2020 to really see how they can incorporate reusables for this event. And also when it comes to really incentivizing like private event organizers, there was this good example that Victoria and colleagues are now implementing on how they can incorporate like contractually binding clauses to really avoid single-use cups in events that use the public space.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Nestor. Marianne, to you.
Yes, so we discussed someone from Braga, Portugal, presented an initiative to reduce food waste in restaurants and in schools as well. And then we also discussed the different benefits for the municipality to reduce plastic waste, for example, the facilitation of the waste management and also the achievement of different climate goals.
Awesome. Thank you, Marianne. Sounds like it was very interesting breakout discussion. All right, so moving on for the last part of this webinar and the wrap up, I will leave the floor now to Simon Clement from ICLEI to just the Outlook presentation.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Chiara. I hope everyone can hear me properly. I know there's another meeting happening in the background, so I hope that's not too disturbing. Anyway, my name is Simon Clement, and I'm head of ICLEI's Circular Economy team. So just to mention a couple of upcoming activities for hopefully participants to join in on. As you'll know, we have a Circular Cities Declaration report to be published every 2 years, collecting the experiences of the signatories. The report next year is going to be on the topic of the social impact of circular economy measures at the local level. So what sort of social impact are we achieving? How are we measuring that? How are we optimizing that? We are going to be going out to all of the signatories of the CCD likely at the end of January with a survey, collecting responses to that. Probably there will be then some further interviews with individual cities before publication of the report sometime in mid-2026. So hopefully that's of interest to a number of people here. So we'll be looking for your input, as I say, in January. Yes, then a few other ongoing opportunities that you might be interested in. The CCD works very closely with the European Commission's Circular Cities and Regions Initiative, the CCRI. And as part of that, a twinning program has been launched. So if a city region is interested in speaking to another city region working on similar issues, just to have some sort of informal exchange, we're able to facilitate that, to try to identify who that other city region might be, and to set that up. There's more information in these slides, which will be shared afterwards. Second potential opportunity to mention is the EIB's Circular City Centre, and they offer a program which provides advisory services on the development of circular strategies, actions, and projects, which is free for anyone to use. Thirdly, the CCRI again has launched a series of different working groups called Communities of Practice. There is one that is about to be launched on the topic of circular water management. So if that is a topic of interest to anyone here, then please let us know and we'll see if there's an opportunity to join that. Fourthly, there might well be some from the presentations already today, but we are always looking for good examples of practices at the local level that we can then prepare case studies on for profiling those examples at the European level. Again, this is through the EIB's Circular Cities Centre programme. So if you would like us to write a case study on what you're doing, then please let us know. And finally here, one of the support partners of the Circular Cities Declaration, Zero Waste Europe, has a training course that anybody can join in, and the link is here, on reusable packaging systems. Yeah, so that's just a few ongoing opportunities. If you have any yourself, of course, please put them in the chat, and this slide will be shared so you can click on all of those links. Chiara, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Simon. And also Nestor has just posted all the links in the chat, so feel free to peruse them. So just looking at upcoming activities and events, there's a link to a flyer that summarizes all upcoming webinars on industrial urban symbiosis that might be of interest to you. That again will be put in the chat. And the next CCD webinar will likely be in February, and the topic will be circular transportation, but we will, of course, let you know as soon as possible. If you want to rewatch this recording, as usual, it's going to be posted on the Circular City Declaration website, and there will also be the link to the to providing a feedback form for this webinar, but also to suggest topics for the upcoming webinars. So to wrap up, I would like to thank you all the speakers of today's webinar, and as well as all the attendees. And we hope to have your feedback, and for anything please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much, everyone, and I wish you all a nice rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.